23rd shloka. Shatruchedayika mantram. One mantra which can destroy our enemies. Who are the enemies? Well, there are two types of enemies: the outside enemies and the inside enemies. Outside enemies are easy to discover, but the enemies inside, very often they behave like friends, and so it's difficult to recognize them. And our philosophical works describe the inside enemies as Arishad Varga, the group of 6 enemies: Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada and Matsarya. In the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, towards the end, when Arjuna puts the simple question, why is it that people, forced as it were by some unseen force, are pressurized into doing evil deeds in life? Then Krishna replies, Kamayesha Krodhayesha Rajo Guna Samudbhavaha Mahashano Mahapapma Vidhenam Iha Vairinam. It is Kama and Krodha, born out of Rajoguna, that is responsible for forcing human beings into committing evil deeds. And he also describes that these two evils are Mahashanaha and Mahapapma. Mahashana literally means that which eats unlimited quantities of food. In other words, it wants to be satisfied. You go on giving it what it wants, but it is never satisfied. Insatiable lust, insatiable anger. So, this Kama and this Krodha, born out of Rajoguna, is such a big enemy. But how to overcome these enemies? How to neutralize them? According to the Bhakti Shastras, Bhagavan Nama Japa is the only medicine, the only weapon with which you can conquer these enemies. Well, there are other methods often suggested by works like Yoga Sutras and that wonderful work of Vidyaranya, Jivan Mukti Viveka, where in the 2nd chapter he has given detailed instructions as to how to conquer these enemies. Even then, the best solution to the conquest of these enemies inside is the repetition of the divine name. Then the next phrase, Sakalam Upanishad Vakya Sampujya Mantram. Kala means part. Sakala, including all the parts, that means complete. All the Upanishads, they have given us one particular mantra. So the mantra that is given in all the Upanishads, which mantra is highly respected, revered by the devotees and the sadhakas, what is that? According to this writer, it is Krishna mantra, but in the Upanishads we find that the mantra is Pranava Omkara. So Pranava or Omkara is the word symbol for God, for Brahman. Pranavo Brahma Nirbhayam. Pranavam hi Ishwaram Vidyat. Pranavam eva Paramam Brahma. Pranavaha Sarva Vedeshu. Krishnakhyam Param Dhama. This is how the various Upanishads describe Pranava or Omkara as the best symbol representing God, Supreme Brahman. And according to one of the minor Upanishads, Gopi Uttaratapini Upanishad, Krishna and Pranava are identical. So, the mantra which is highly respected, which has been given to us by all the Upanishads, that mantra is the Sri Krishna mantra. Though apparently the mantra given in the Upanishads is Omkara or Pranava, according to this writer, Pranava, Omkara and Sri Krishna mantra are absolutely identical. What is represented by Pranava or Omkara is Brahman, and Krishna is nothing but Brahman or none other than Brahman. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. He is God himself. Now, what is Upanishad? Upanishad is Brahma Vidya. Normally, two definitions are given for the word Upanishad. Upa means near, Ni means below, Sad means to sit. So the disciple approaches the Guru, goes near him, sits at his feet, puts questions concerning the ultimate values of life, and receives the teaching. So the teaching that comes out of the mouth of the Guru in reply to the questions asked by the sadhaka, that is now called as Upanishad. Of course, that is a very simple, elementary definition of the word Upanishad. But Bhagavan Shankara has given a more detailed, a more technical definition of the word in his Bhashya on the Kathopanishad. He says that the root word Sad has three meanings: Visharana, Gati, Avasadhana. Visharana means loosening. Gati means leading to the final goal. Avasadhana is destroying. So Upanishad represents that knowledge or spiritual wisdom which will loosen the bonds of samsara, which will destroy our ignorance, and which will lead us ultimately to Brahman. Visharana, Gati, Avasadhana. In other words, to put it in the simplest language, Upanishad means Brahma Vidya. So Upanishads are teaching Brahma Vidya, and the Brahman who is referred to in the Upanishads has been named as Pranava, and Brahman is Krishna, therefore Pranava represents Krishna. Krishna mantra and Pranava are identical, and if Pranava is taught by the Upanishads, it simply means Upanishads are teaching Sri Krishna mantra. So, arguing in this way, the poet tells us, Sakalam Upanishad Vakya Sampujya Mantram, Sri Krishna Mantram Japa Japa Satata. Then we have another phrase, adjectival phrase, Samsara Uttara Mantram. That mantra which lifts you up far above samsara, which frees you from the shackles of samsara, bondage of samsara. Now what is samsara? It's a technical word used in our philosophical systems. Sri means to move, Sri Gatav. Sri, to move deeply inward. Move in or move through what? The cycle of birth and death. A person is born, then he lives, he dies. He is reborn, again he lives, again he dies. This cycle of birth and death is almost eternal. It is going on like that. Anadi, in one way, or apparently Ananta. Of course, we can break it by Atma Jnana. So this is called samsara. samsara chakra, the cycle of birth and death. Now how to get out of that? How to transcend it? How to go beyond it? By the repetition of this mantra. Now let us see how it is achieved by this mantra. Bhagavan Shankara very often uses this word avidya kama karma. These three words go together in his writings. Avidya is the basic defect in us, ignorance of our real nature as Satchit Ananda Atman. Because we are ignorant of that, I do not know I am the Atman, I am not able to recognize this world as Brahman or Atman, and as a result of that comes Dvaita Darshana. I see I am different, you are different, the world is different. So when we see so many things which are different from one another and from ourselves, then comes Raga Dvesha. I want this, I don't want this. So we want something, we want to get something, and we also want to get rid of something as a result of Raga and Dvesha. So once this Raga and Dvesha comes into our mind, the result will be karma. We have to act, we have to work, we have to act to get what we want, we have to work, we have to act to prevent what we don't want. So the moment we perform karma, its phala has to be experienced. When karma is there, phala must come. Cause and effect go together. This phala cannot be exhausted in one life. Consequently, future births, future lives become inevitable. One simple example can clear this. I burn my finger comes into contact with burning fire, maybe hardly for 5 seconds. But for the wound to heal, it may take 8 days, 10 days. So the damage that has been done in 5 seconds can be repaired only 8 days of treatment. That means how many millions of seconds are there? In the same way, the karmas that we do in one life, their fruits and results cannot be exhausted in one life. So future lives become inevitable. There is a very detailed discussion about the theory of karma in the Vyasa Bhashya of the Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Anyhow, so once karma is there, its phala must come. Since phala cannot be exhausted in one life, punarjanma becomes necessary, and this cycle continues. If you want to cut this cycle, destroy samsara, you have to go to the root and destroy it there. The root is avidya. So if you want to get rid of samsara, if you want to get moksha, liberation from the cycle of transmigration, you have to destroy its root, namely avidya, or basic ignorance. Now how can we destroy this avidya? This is the next question. There are 2 schools of thought. According to Advaita Vedanta, avidya can be destroyed only by jnana. Even bhakti can be an aid. Nishkama karma and bhakti are good aids in spiritual life, but they by themselves can never destroy avidya or ajnana. On the other hand, the Vedantic schools of the bhakti cult, Vishishtadvaita and Dvaita, they say it is bhakti alone that can destroy this avidya, not jnana. So for them bhakti is primary sadhana, jnana is secondary sadhana. But Sri Ramakrishna says, Paramajnana and Parabhakti are absolutely identical. This point needs a little explanation. Through jnana, we destroy the awareness or identity with our body-mind complex. The Dehatma Bhava is destroyed by the Jnana that we are the Atman. That comes from Jnana. And once the Dehatma Bhava is destroyed, the awareness of ourselves as Atman comes, and Atman is Ananda. So that comes from Bhakti. So ultimately Jnana and Bhakti are two sides of the same coin. Atman is Sat Chit Ananda. Sat is eternal existence. When the Chit part of it is taken as the aim in our sadhana, it is called as Jnana Marga. When the Ananda part of it is taken as the primary inspiration for our sadhana, then it becomes Bhakti Marga. Through either of these paths, we ultimately arrive at the same goal, namely the Atman or Brahman. Since Atman or Brahman is both Chit and Ananda, once you reach that, you experience both simultaneously. That you are Chaitanya, that you are Ananda. So Sri Ramakrishna says, it's foolish to quarrel that Jnana Marga and Bhakti Marga are different. They are two sides of the same coin. They practically lead to one and the same goal. Of course, the works like Shandilya's Bhakti Sutra, they describe that avidya, it is not avidya that has caused samsara, transmigratory existence, but abhakti, lack of bhakti in the Lord. Anyhow, it doesn't matter. The main question that is to be dealt with here is, you say that it is samsara uttara mantra. This mantra is capable of lifting you up, help you to transcend samsara. How does it do it? How does uddhara come? It's very simple. If you go on repeating the divine name, Sri Krishna mantra, Sri Rama mantra, Shiva mantra, any mantra that you like, for instance, the mind is gradually purified. You are not going to create Atman by mantra japa. Mantra japa purifies the mind. Atman Brahman is already there. Ishvara sarvabhutanam hriddeshe arjuna tishtati. Lord says in the Gita, Ishvara, God, is seated in the hearts of all living beings. So when the mind is purified, the presence of the Lord within is felt more and more intensely. A simple example is, a lantern is burning, the chimney has been covered with black soot, so not much of light is coming out. To the extent you clean the glass chimney, to that extent light becomes brighter and comes out. So light is always the same, only light coming out depends upon how clean the chimney is. When the chimney is cleansed to 100%, then entire light is able to come out. In the same way, the light within the Atman, Brahman or Ishvara is always there, but somehow the chimney of our mind is full of raga, dvesha, kama, krodha and so on. It's not allowing us to experience the divinity within. If we cleanse the mind, purify the mind, automatically the divine within is felt, tangibly felt. So this is what mantra is going to do. Repetition of Sri Krishna mantra cleanses the mind, purifies the mind, gradually makes us experience the divine within us. So there are shlokas from that wonderful scripture, Bhagavatam, and also its earlier edition, the Vishnu Purana, which describe the greatness of the name of the Lord and its role in cleansing our mind. Yat kirtanam, yat smaranam, yadikshanam, yadvandanam, yat shravanam, yadarhanam, lokasya sadyo vidhunoti kalmasham, tasmai subhadra shravase namo namaha. The Lord is called as Subhadra Shravas. Shravas means kirti, name, fame. Subhadra means that which is auspicious. The Lord is the very personification of auspiciousness. The Lord is known in the world for His power to impart auspiciousness to others who approach Him with love and devotion. So that Subhadra Shavas are the Lord by Kirtana, singing His names and glories, by Smarana, remembering Him in the mind, by Ikshana, looking at His beautiful image, a consecrated image in a temple, or imagining the form in one's own mind, then Vandana, by bowing down to Him with great humility, then Shravana, hearing about His names and glories, Arhana, puja or ritualistic worship. All these things are capable of lokasya kalmasham sadhyah vidhunoti. Loka means the people of the world. So when they adopt this method of bhakti yoga, they are able to destroy the impurities in their minds and hearts immediately, quickly, immediately. So I bow down to Him, the Supreme Lord, by singing about whose names and glories, by remembering whom, by looking at whose image consecrated in a temple, by bowing down to whom, by listening to whose names, by worshipping whom, people are liberated, people are purified of all the impurities in their mind. I bow down to such a God. Vichakshanaya charanopasadanat sangam yudasyo bhayatuntaratmanah vindantihi brahmagatim gataklamaha tasmai subhadrashravase namo namaha. Vichakshana. There are great people, very intelligent, experts in the process of sadhana. What do? Charana upasadhana. They approach the holy lotus feet of the Lord. When they do that, what happens? Sangam yudasya. Whatever attachment is there in their mind, it is given up. And that Sangha is both outside and inside. Attachment to the things outside, attachment to the things inside. Or attachment belonging to this world, attachment belonging to the next world. Many times people deny themselves and do tapas here in order to get a seat in heaven. So that is attachment to the other world or the bhogas, objects of enjoyment in the other world. They are able to give up both these. And as a result of that, they find joy and peace, and they are able to get Brahmagati, attain the state of Brahman. That means just by approaching the holy lotus feet of the Lord, just by meditating upon the holy lotus feet of the Lord, a person is able to get all these things, destroy the attachments that are binding him to this world, get great peace and joy and balance inside, and ultimately attain Brahman. Pravishtah karnarandhrena swanam bhavasaroruham dhunoti shamalam krishnaha salilasya yatha sharat. In the rainy season, the waters of the rivers become muddy. But after the rainy season passes, Sharad Ritu, the autumn season comes, automatically all the dirt in the river water goes, water becomes very clear. So the poet is telling us, the very approach of the autumnal season makes the waters of the rivers clean. In exactly the same way, merely by listening to the name of the Lord Krishna through the ears, which enters into our minds and hearts, it automatically purifies our minds and hearts. We may not be a great devotee at all. Even then, when you listen to the Lord's name, Krishna, it automatically cleanses the mind. You can say, how is it possible? A simple example can make it clear. Whether a person knows about the efficacy of medicine or not, whether he willingly takes the medicine or whether the medicine is forced into his mouth and stomach, the medicine will act. That is what Sri Ramakrishna says. So, there is so much of power in the name of the Lord that even if one listens to it accidentally, it is capable of cleansing one's heart. So, if that is the power of the Lord, if you repeat the name willingly, voluntarily and willingly, with faith, with devotion, the result should be much quicker. So from all these things we can find that the Lord's name or Krishna mantra given here is Samsara Uttara mantra. It is capable of lifting us above this mundane existence, the bondage of mundane existence. Samupachita Tamasangha Niryana mantram. That mantra is capable of driving away. Driving away what? Tamasangha. The intense darkness which is in our minds and hearts. But did it come in one day or in one life? No. Samupachita. It has been deeply accumulated in our minds and hearts over several lives. Life after life, we do good things and bad things. According to Vedanta, even good things are a bondage. Because if you do punya karma, you have to come back again to exhaust that. If you do papa karma, again you have to come back to exhaust it. Both punya and papa, from the Vedantic sense, are papa itself. Only Brahma Jnana or Bhakti, only that can give you real freedom. So, a human being, through millions of lives, has accumulated in his mind and heart so much of tamas, intense darkness, ignorance. But all that is driven away at one stroke by this mantra, Samupachita Tamasangha Niryana mantram. Human nature is very often, though we know what is good and what is bad, we are unable to give up what is bad and take to what is good. Papam karoti yatnataha. There is a nice shloka quoted by Vidyaranya in the Jivanmukti Viveka. Punyasya phalamichanti, punyam nechanti manavaha, na papa phalam ichanti, papam karoti yatnataha. Papam kurvanti yatnataha. So they go out of the way to commit sins, though they don't want to enjoy the fruits and results of their sinful deeds. So this tamas sangha is destroyed by the Lord's name, repetition of the Lord's name. Sri Ramakrishna gives one nice example. There is a camel. It is fond of thorny bushes. It eats. Very often the thorns get into its tongue. The tongue starts bleeding, but even then the camel doesn't stop. It goes on eating. It eats more and then more bleeding happens or comes about. Like that, ordinary human beings are also bound to this world. Then, how does Krishna mantra or Lord's name get rid of this or drive away this darkness which is in our heart? Sri Ramakrishna gives another example. Suppose there is a guha, a cave. You go inside the cave and just strike a match. There may be darkness in that cave accumulated, if I can use the word, over thousands of years. But it doesn't take thousands of years for this match or the lighted match to dispel that darkness. At one stroke it goes. So like that, though the tamas in our minds and hearts is samupachita tamas sangha, it is deep darkness of ignorance accumulated over several lives, even then at one stroke the Lord's name can destroy it. How does it happen? We first start doing nama japa. Even if we do it without much faith and devotion, it doesn't matter. Like a seed, it has got intrinsically the power to destroy our ignorance. So nama japa gradually cleanses the mind, creates sat samskaras, good samskaras. Evil samskaras are destroyed, good samskaras are created. And when this is carried on for a long time, the whole mind becomes pure and automatically the divine will be revealed. So the easiest, the simplest and the most efficacious spiritual practice is nama japa. People who have attained siddhi through mere japa are called as japa siddhas. Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of Gopala Ma, Aghor Muni Devi, as the supreme example for japa siddhas. And we have also heard, according to the tantras, every mantra has got bijakshara, seed letter. These bijaksharas are very powerful, and when they are repeated as per the directions given in our shastras, they act. They act from within. Slowly the power is manifested and there is total transformation of the person. Once, I think I have given this example earlier, a very rich man came to a sadhu and wanted him to give him a mantra with the bijakshara and the regular procedure. The sadhu could see through his intuitive intellect that this man was addicted to opium. It perhaps happened about 70 or 80 years ago. Immediately he told him, "No, I cannot give you the mantra." Why? Because you are an opium addict. I don't want to take such a sinful man as my disciple. Then that man started weeping. All right. You repeat this Ram Nam, 2-letter word, 10,000 times per day for so many days. Afterwards you come to me. Within about 20 to 30 days, that man was able to get rid of this habit completely. Ram Nam, repeated with faith, had worked so wonderfully in his mind that he was able to kick off the habit. Then the sadhu gave him formal initiation very gladly. So that is the power of the bijakshara, the mantra, the divine name of the Lord. Then comes the next group of words. Sarva Aishwarya Eka Mantram. Aishwarya, wealth, or Ishwaratva, the capacity to rule over the world. Instead of merely using the word Aishwarya, the poet has used an additional word, Sarva. Sarva Aishwarya Eka Mantra. Why has he used the word Sarva here? Because Aishwarya can be of various forms. Money, then wealth, goods, materials, then power, and also the various siddhis brought about by yoga. All these are in some way or the other called as Aishwarya. So, there is one mantra which is capable of giving you all the Aishwaryas, any one of them or all of them put together if you like, and that is Krishna mantra. Sarva Aishwarya Eka Mantram. There are wonderful works. They are usually called as tantric works or tantra works. Shaivagamas and Shaktagamas. Shaktagamas are called as tantras. There are also Vaishnavagamas, 3 types of agamas. These agama works, they not only deal with iconography, establishment of temples, rituals connected with the temples, they also give many types and kinds of mantras and how to practice spiritual disciplines with the help of these mantras. Prapanchasara is one very famous work attributed to Bhagavan Shankara, and there is another almost equally well-known work called Sharada Tilaka Tantra. Most of them have been published. The originals have been published, sometimes with simple translations, but also with the note of warning that nobody should try to practice the disciplines mentioned here just by reading the books. It can do great harm. It has to be got only through Guru Mukha, as they say. So these Tantra Granthas, they describe the various mantras, the mode and method of repeating them, and what power, what realization one can get through that. But our devotee of the Lord Krishna is telling, Sarva Aishwarya Eka Mantra. You need not worry about any of the mantras given in any of the books. This one mantra is enough for you. It can give you whatever wealth and power you want in life. Then, Vyasana, Bhujaga, Sandashta, Santrana Mantram. When a snake bites a person, he is going to die. Mostly poisonous snakes, let us say. So in order to save a person from the bite of the poisonous person, immediately, urgently some medicine has to be given. Here our poet is telling us, Sri Krishna mantra is like that medicine. But which is the snake that is biting or that has bitten the ordinary people of the world? It is called Vyasana. Bhujaga means snake because it moves on its shoulders. Bhujaga. Bhuja means shoulder. It moves on its shoulders, therefore it is called as Bhujaga, serpent. Vyasana is the Bhujaga. Now what is Vyasana? The word Vyasana is given 3 meanings in the famous Sanskrit dictionary called Amarakosha. Vipadi, Bhramshe, Doshecha. Vipat, difficulty in life. It produces Vyasana, sorrow and suffering. Then Bhramsha, we have got an ideal in front of us. We are trying to follow that. We slip, fall away from the path. That gives us so much of pain and suffering. Then comes dosha, defects. Defects may be physical or mental or in other fields. All these produce sorrow and suffering for us, which in general is called as Vyasana. So Vyasana itself is the Bhujaga. The sorrow and suffering that we get due to difficulties in life or slipping away or falling away from the ideal or other types of defects, that Vyasana itself is the serpent. We are constantly and continuously bitten by this type of serpent. Now how to cure it or get rid of it? Normally, when a serpent bites, 2 things can happen. One, death, if it is very poisonous. If it is not that poisonous, then it can result in an incurable disease. In Karnataka, there is a special kind of serpent called Kolakumandala. There is no English equivalent for that. They say even its breath is enough and your limbs will start falling off, as it were. They will get rotten, and then even they may fall off like the Kushtarogis or leprosy patients. So these two things are possible. When a serpent bites, a man may die, or he may get an incurable disease. So this vyasana is also like that serpent. The various types of problems that we get in life, producing sorrow and suffering, they are like the serpent. Now we have to remedy them. Similarly, addiction. Nowadays, drug addiction has become a big problem all over the world. Similarly, drinking and smoking, addiction to some bad habits. All these are vyasanas. How to get rid of them, how to get out of them, that is the main point to be discussed now. If we want to get rid of a very bad or evil habit or vyasana or addiction, there are two things which are needed. First is called viveka. The mind, the intellect must be convinced this is bad, I must get rid of it. If the mind says it is good, let me have it, then there is no chance of your getting out of it. The mind should say, intellect should say, wisdom should say, it is bad, it is going to harm me, I'll be destroyed, therefore let me give it up. So this viveka leads to purusha prayatna. Man starts struggling against it. In order to struggle against it, to get rid of it, viveka is necessary. Viveka is the first step, struggle is the second step. But very often we find that in spite of our best struggles, most intense struggles, we are not able to get over the habits. In such cases, we need a third factor, daivanugraha, grace of God. Mameva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite, Krishna says in the Gita. Daivekhyasha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. This maya power of mine, comprising the three gunas, is my divine power. It is duratyaya, it is impossible to cross by ordinary human beings. But those who take refuge at my feet, they alone will be able to get rid of it. So, ultimately, we come to this grace. By the grace of God, we will be able to get rid of it. Now, how do you get the grace? Remembering the Lord, repeating His divine name. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha. Krishna says in the Gita, in the 8th chapter, therefore, because of all these factors and teachings I have kept before you, I am going to tell you this simple fact, mam anusmara yudhyacha. Face the problems of life, but before that you need strength. Remember me and I will give you the strength to face these problems. But how long? Should I remember you only when the problems come? No. Sarveshu kaleshu. Constantly and continuously at all times in your life, if you are able to remember me, then your mind is always equipped with the necessary strength to face the problems. That means Nama Japa as continuously as possible should be there, and that will strengthen us from within, and we will be able to meet the various challenges of our life. So mantra japa makes it very easy, very simple. Mantra japa leads to chitta shuddhi, and when the mind is pure, viveka arises in it, vairagya arises, bhakti comes, sharanagati comes, dhriti, inner strength, morale, everything comes by the repetition of the divine name. So ultimately, like Ramabana, it is the panacea for all evils in our life. You take, for instance, Prahlada, little boy. According to the Vishnu Purana and the Bhagavatam, how many problems and difficulties and dangers he had to face in life. His own father was against him, but just by holding on to the holy lotus feet of the Lord, and repeating the divine name, Sri Hari, Lord Hari's name, he was able to overcome all these things. Because, as Sri Ramakrishna says, Nam o Nami Ak. Nama the name and Nami the named person, they are identical. When I call a person Rama, immediately I also remember the person, his form, the living person. So just like that, when we repeat the name of the Lord, we also remember his form, and it is not just the form, it is the power. So, Prahlada, by repeating the divine name with faith, was able to attain everything in life. Krishna tells us towards the end of the Gita, Sarvadharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. You give up all modes and methods of spiritual practice. Take refuge in me, and I will liberate you from all sins. Don't grieve. So that means single-minded devotion, total sharanagati at the feet of the Lord will automatically help us to overcome all the problems of life. Now we go to the 24th shloka. Vyamoha prashamaushadham muni manovritti pravrityaushadham दैत्येन्द्रार्तिकरौषधम् त्रिभुवने सञ्जीवनैकौषधम् भक्तात्यन्तहितौषधम् भवभयप्रध्वंसनैकौषधम् श्रेयःप्राप्तिकरौषधम् पिब मनः श्रीकृष्णदिव्यौषधम्. Again, the poet is giving an advice or a command, as it were, to his own mind. Manaha, O my mind, piba, drink. Drink what? Shri Krishna Divya Aushadham, the divine medicine called Shri Krishna. If you drink this medicine, all types and kinds of diseases from which you are suffering will simply disappear in no time. All the other words used here in this shloka are adjectives to this Divya Aushadha, Shri Krishna Divya Aushadha. What is Aushadha? Aushadha is the medicine prepared from Oshadhi. It is a vegetable product taken from trees, from roots, from leaves, from fruits. So something which is prepared out of the vegetable kingdom, trees and other types of things grown in our gardens. It is called Oshadhi. What is produced from Oshadhi is Aushadhi. Many of you may not know one very interesting fact. There is a Siddha system of medicine, mostly in Tamil Nadu, that came up something like a rebellion against the Ayurveda system. In Ayurveda system, the medicines are prepared not only out of Oshadhi, they are also prepared out of other things. Sometimes the preparation involves pranihimsa also. So they rebelled against it and had a separate system of medicine developed. So in the Siddha system, all medicines are prepared out of fruits and roots and leaves and other vegetable items of vegetable kingdom, and they never use animal products. So this Aushadhi does two things. Roga Nivritti, it destroys our disease, and it is Shakti Vardhaka, it increases our health, vigor, strength. According to the poet, as described in this shloka, the Nama Japa of Sri Krishna, then his dhyana, meditation upon him, archana or puja, Sankirtana, singing his names and glories, and listening to his leelas, various kinds of play, and manana, reflecting upon him. This is the best aushadha for all the evils of life. Pibamanaha Shri Krishna Divya Aushadham. Aushadham is one of the names used for the Lord in the Vishnu Sahasranama. Shankara gives the definition, Samsara Roga Bheshajatvat. Why do you call Lord Vishnu as Aushadha? Because samsara is a roga. We are suffering from a disease called samsara, transmigratory existence. Lord's name, Vishnu, remembering him, repeating his name, it acts like a doctor, acts like a medicine, helping us to get rid of this disease. So the Lord is called as Aushadha. The Lord is also called as Bhishak. Bhishak means a doctor. Samsara roga nirmokshakarinim param vidyam upadidesha gitasu. Why is the Lord Krishna or Vishnu called as Bhishak here, as a doctor? Because in the Bhagavad Gita he has given the teaching by which samsara roga can be got rid of, can be cured. Bhishaktamam tva bhishajam shrunomi. Even in the Rig Veda, God is addressed as the supreme doctor. Now let us take up these phrases one by one. Vyamoha prashama aushadham. Prashama, it brings down, it takes away what is called as vyamoha, intense attachment. This aushadha, the medicine called Krishna's name, is capable of bringing down and completely eliminating vyamoha. Now what is vyamoha? Muha vaichitye, that is the root word. Mukh means to get confused, disorientation. Two letters are added behind this, V and R. V means Vishesha, something which is very special, and A means up to the end, completely. So Vyamoha is not ordinary confusion or disorientation or delusion. It is something which is very strong and which will go to any length to destroy you. If our minds are affected by Vyamoha, and if you do not realize that the mind is affected by Vyamoha, if you do not take steps to eliminate it, we are finished. That is what the poet means. So this Vyamoha has to be destroyed. But what are the various types of Vyamoha from which we suffer in life, or by which we can recognize Vyamoha? First is attachment to the body, Deha and Indriya, the Abhimana that we have towards it, the spirit of identity, the feeling of identity with it, attachment to it. In the Vedantic text it is said that the body is the dearest thing to us in our life. The famous example is, a house is on fire, the person forgets his wife and children and wealth, everything, runs out of the house to save himself. So his own prana is much more important to him than everything else in life. So the attachment to Deha and Indriya, that is one aspect of Vyamoha. The second aspect of Vyamoha is the Putra Kalatra Bandhu Sneha, attachment towards wife, children, friends and relatives. Third, Vitta Kshetra Griha, wealth, then land, buildings, house, attachment towards that. That is another type of Vyamoha. And there is also a fourth type of Vyamoha, the desire for name and fame and recognition, the desire for power. These are the various aspects or facets of Vyamoha: delusion, confusion and so on, attachment. This has to be destroyed, and the medicine which helps us to destroy this is Sri Krishna mantra. Again, we can remember the camel and the thorny bushes, how the camel is attached to eating it in spite of the fact it is hurting its tongue and the tongue is bleeding. So this is a very important part or aspect of our weakness, human weakness, and we find it very clearly mentioned in the Chandi or Durga Saptashati, where the king Suratha and the merchant Samadhi go and ask the Rishi Sumedha why they are so much attached to their wife and children and wealth and kingdom, even though they know that these people have harmed them. Then the sage Samadhi says, it is because of moha, maya and so on.